Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Play by Play Off Air and Online. Of course, it's the subsidiary, I'd like to call it, of our Play by Play Online or On Air, which happens every Saturday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. So thank you so much for joining us once again. Of course, so much for us to unpack. And as I always do, when we head in a certain direction, I bring out the big dogs specifically for that. Of course, the recording's taking place on Tuesday and it's only going out on Thursday. But without further ado, it is a Tuesday, the 28th of October, and I'm going to wish our first guest a massive happy birthday. Delucia Daniels, make some noise, everybody. Boom, boom, boom.
Woohoo!
Whoop, 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 whoop. Happy birthday, firstly, and welcome back.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's my first time back in a really long time, so thank you so much. A year older and hopefully wiser.
Are we allowed to ask where you've been?
I mean, I don't mind sharing where I've been. I've been in Joburg for the last month. I've been on an extraordinary journey to enhancing my sports broadcasting career.
Oh, look at you. Before I even get to you, Adrian, I mean, we brought out the big guns here. Like, tell us more.
Listen,
More, sorry.
It's honestly been the most amazing journey of my life. I think that if you follow me on social media, you know exactly what I've been doing.
Yes.
And if you watch the show that's happening, a reality TV show, guys, I'm a reality TV star now. But
Wow,
it's really,
look at that.
like, on a serious note, it's been amazing to be in a sporting industry where you are with the best of the best. And Morgan, you've worked with this company so many times before. You know the amount of work that is being put into this broadcasting space. So for me to be able to be in that space and really just enrich my skills has been a blessing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Delucia Daniels coming here, been rolling with the big dogs. I mean, to be honest with you, she should be sitting here and I should be sitting there. I feel like that's where this is headed. Also in the show with you this evening, as always, I want to call him my right arm almost because we can't do on air or offline without him. Adrian Endley. Dude, I want to give you a better intro, but like when you have Delucia here, I'm
100%.
sorry.
No, look here, the focus on Delucia today because we are going to be getting into some. I mean, the reason she's here is because I've always said it, she's the queen of Formula One.
100%
When it
agreed.
comes to anyone in South Africa, if I want to know anything about Formula One, I'm going to Delucia first. Okay, so that's why this is basically her episode today. That's what I'm hearing, and it's a birthday. So all in all.
Actually, I'm the one that's being blessed by you two today, so thank you.
Oh, look at us being all emotional here. We're also going to touch on, before we go, the Springboks. They're up against Japan this weekend, and we're going to unpack a little bit about what's going on in the Springboks. But of course, with Delucia here, we're going to talk Formula One. So let's dive straight into it. Lando Norris has now overtaken Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen still, I think, still like 30-odd points, climbing or very close.
Yeah.
D, talk me through this last weekend. Where is it heading? And don't forget, I did have you on the show on Saturday morning, and you did say that you still think potentially Max Verstappen can take it.
I think the magic number for this weekend was number 1. And I say that because Norris is now 1 point ahead of Oscar Piastri. This is the first time since April after the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix that he is leading the championship. And also the fact that Mercedes and Ferrari are only 1 point behind one another for the constructors' battle, with Ferrari now overtaking Mercedes. Let's not forget that Red Bull have also now come to the party for the constructors' battle for that P2 as well. Yuki and Max have done amazing things in this last few months as well.
Quickly, just before you even carry on there, like how important is the constructors to teams? I mean, is it more important like we want somebody to win and constructors not so much, or is constructors really important to the respective teams?
Oh, it's absolutely important. And that all comes down to money. Formula One is one of the most expensive sports in the world. And I think when you look at what it comes down to, it comes to how much money can I bring into the team for me to develop my car adequately.
Yeah.
It's about wind tunnel time. This is where we get to test our simulations, where we get to see how well our car is going to work with, especially the new regulations for 2026. So I think when you look at that constructors' battle, McLaren now have the most money to spend for next year. The thing with that is that you obviously have a cost
How do you
cap.
know that?
Because that's what they get. If you win, say if you win a trophy, if you win Champions League, you get a certain amount of money for the team.
Yes.
That's how it works. Same with the World Cup. For the football, you get a certain amount of money. With Formula One, it's exactly the same. So McLaren has the most amount of money just because they've won.
Is it a case of like the first team gets the most, second team gets second?
Yes.
So that's why there's still something to fight for to get that second place.
100%, because that comes down to, again, how much then do you put into your engines, your power units, how much time you get in the wind tunnel industry, because that's massive for you to see your simulations. And because the regulations are changing so rigorously, and I hope we get to discuss that at some point, for us to be able
Yes,
to...
this is part of the. We're going to focus on quickly what's happening in the championship, but without a doubt, we certainly are going to also touch on. So make sure you stay tuned, folks, because we're definitely going to continue to chat about exactly what next year looks like. Because I've tried to unpack it a little bit here and there, but I'm still a little bit confused. But anyway, carry on with the championship and this year first.
I think when you're looking at for this year, McLaren have led by a landslide. There was no denying that they were going to win pretty early on.
Yeah.
They were dominant from the end of last season into the first half of the season, and it was quite clear they were going to be the winners.
Yeah.
What's been interesting is to see the resurgence of a team like Ferrari. We've seen them struggle quite a bit, and it's not a surprise for me because Ferrari tends to come to the party pretty late a lot of the time. They tend to leave it to the last minute, but better late than never. And at the same time, we saw a regress of Red Bull. We had the Christian Horner saga that really did impact the way that the dynamic of the team at Red Bull was affected at the beginning of the season. Him being, dismissed and getting a beautiful payout. Let's not forget he got a lot of money from Red Bull. And now looking to further his career, maybe at a team like Haas, for example, rebuilding that team. There's a lot going on off track that we don't get to see often. But I think when you look at the constructors' battle, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull in that fight for P2, and that's all about money and how we can develop our car. As it stands right now, it looks like Mercedes tend to be the favorite for 2026. In terms of how they've developed their car, which is quite interesting because if you look at how the regulation changes have impacted them before, we saw in the first half of the 2010s, Mercedes had dominated with Nico Rosberg and with Lewis Hamilton. We saw that happening. And I think then afterwards, we saw Red Bull kind of dominating for the last couple of years. Even with Seb Vettel in the early 2010s, that also was happening when he was with Mark Webber. So I think that now with 2026, we've got Cadillac coming in, 11 teams on the grid. There's so much at stake now because everybody's starting on a clean slate. It's like the three of us going into Formula One as different teams. Everyone is starting on a completely new surface. You're bringing in electronic elements from Formula E, for example, into Formula One, which is so different to how these cars operate now as a hybrid system.
Adrian, are you quite heavily engrossed in F1 or not so much?
You know what? I try to leave it to the experts, but I've been following along quite well, and I think this whole idea of like bringing in this hybrid system as well. Like, I don't know how it's going to look, what it's going to look like, but it's really interesting.
Well, D, then let's unpack that a little bit before. What is it going to look? What does next year look like? There is a lot of changes. So I'm going to try and keep it to like 2 minutes worth of like, give us a nutshell or like a sort of a, what do you call it? A quick fire. On what's exactly going to happen next year.
And also why. I think that's also the other question is, we know all this is happening, but why are they bringing these changes?
I'm happy you asked me why, because I actually want to start with that first. The reason why they're doing this is because as the years have progressed in Formula One, these cars have gotten so much bigger and so much heavier, which means the room for overtaking has become a lot slimmer. That's why we see races like Monaco become quite mundane because there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities. A lot of the time where you start is where you finish. It's literally what happened last year at the Monaco Grand Prix where the top 10 ended up exactly the same from qualifying as they did at the end of the race. And that's boring for us as viewers because we're just watching these cars literally go lap after lap.
Well, a friend of mine that races, while you're on this, a friend of mine that races Lance Isaacs, you probably know him, one of South Africa's what do you call it? MotoGP riders. He calls it Formula Yawn. Because it's just so bored. It went through a phase where it's so boring. I think it's really exciting. So you think, are these changes being brought in to create new excitement?
Yeah, it definitely is. So the biggest thing is the cars are going to become narrower, which means that there can be room for more overtaking on narrow circuits. If you look at something like the Saudi Arabia street circuit, for example, it's very narrow.
How much narrow are we talking?
We're talking like a large portion of it being smaller. The same as the tires are being developed right now with Pirelli. We're only going to find out by the end of the year what they decide to do with those tires because at the end of the day, tire degradation, as we saw in Mexico, is a massive factor in Formula One. It determines our strategies. So they are also determining what they're going to do with those tires and how soft they're going to go or how hard they're going to go. So there's a lot of different elements to it. Another big factor is no more DRS. So DRS has been one of those tools where I almost say it's like going into Super Saiyan mode.
Yeah, but why did they bring it in the first place?
To almost help you drive. So this is almost like an enhanced feature in Formula One where if you're within 1 second of the car behind you, you have an opportunity to then use this like NOS feature.
Drag reduction system.
100%.
So you can drag off the back of the car in front of you.
Correct. It's almost like you...
It feels like those Need for Speed games where you can just click the NOS button and get like a little boost, you know?
That's exactly what it is. It's a magic button that you can press to do this, but you have to be within 1 second of a person. But the problem with that is you then cause a DRS train, because if me, you, Adrian are in one line and we're all within 1 second of each other, now we're in a DRS train, so we can't overtake each other. It makes it impossible to do that. So what they've done is now they've gotten rid of that system, and now they've got something that they've taken from Formula E, for example, where you can have like an electronic boost, and this is where the hybrid system comes in, where you then have like electrical battery almost, and that you can deploy this battery and you can recharge your system. So this is where we're taking a lot of these elements from other racing.
And how many times can you do this? As many times as you want.
As many times as you
and
want.
you got to be within the 1 second.
There is no 1 second. That's the beauty of this thing. You can deploy it whenever you want to. So this is now going to be a very interesting thing for engineers and for racers to try and decide like how they're going to race, and also when do we deploy this battery? At what point do we deploy it?
Yeah.
So if you watch Formula E, you will notice they do that quite a lot, where you have to take laps where it is about recharging your car and about making sure that you are at the correct distance to do these things. But once you deploy it, best believe you are going to hopefully get a really good overtake.
I mean, I've experienced driving in like just a electric car when you sort of put the accelerator on.
Yeah.
There isn't that lag that you get with normal.
Yes.
Correct.
So
Because there's no
imagine
pressure
that.
build-up that needs to happen.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So imagine that in a Formula One setup, like how much speed you can get with that.
And I mean, you're already averaging like what, 350 kilometers per hour. I think at that point you are going to get some sort of action on track. And I think that's what the FIA has been trying to do, is to bring more action to these races that we genuinely enjoy where we are now, but it could be enhanced by what we're going to see in the next few years.
So all in all, I mean, the changes, you're happy with them? You think that they're going to be a positive change for a more exciting Formula One season next year?
I hope so, because I think that when you have a track like Monaco, it can be really boring to watch. I mean, me as someone who loves Formula One and who loves fashion and food, to see Formula One come together in Monaco, it's a pleasure for me to watch.
Well, I saw something, I think I was reading some report that said like Formula One's starting to go overboard with the amount they show the wags or the wives and the girlfriends and the dress and how they dress, and it's become like this fashion show runway.
It's become more of like a cultural thing now. Like it's not like race weekends aren't just about the racing anymore. It's about everything that's around it.
I don't think you guys understand how much money is in WAG culture and how much money is in luxury branding for a lot of not only brands, but people who are at these races.
Yeah.
And I think when you are sitting in the paddock and we are showing Morgan Newman and ex-Springbok, that brings money not only to you as a person being in the paddock with a team like, for example, Red Bull, but also at the same time, it gives Red Bull props because they're like, oh, look, Morgan Newman is there and he was an ex-Springbok. It brings them brand exposure. And I think that also ties into
Really?
profitability.
That's
There's so many
wild,
different
eh?
things. And when you are a WAG, if I was dating, for example, Lando Norris, my title doesn't go Delucia Daniels, Formula One presenter and sports writer and producer. It goes from Lando Norris's girlfriend. But with that comes Louis Vuitton coming to me and saying, hey, we want to give you this. Can you please do this for this amount of money? There is so much money
We're
in
in the
WAG
wrong
culture.
game, dude.
No, 100%.
You guys need to become WAGs.
I'm saying.
We're in the wrong game. Is there no female sport that we can go find a wife at?
I mean, you guys could date Simone Biles, for example. That could be a good one. We've got so many great athletes as well that you could go and date if you wanted to. But there's a lot of money in this sport,
Yeah.
even off track. And I think with Formula One especially, it's about the opulence. You know, it's about the who's who. It's about who's on the track.
I mean, that's why you're always seeing every race weekend. There's some celebrity in the
100%.
in the paddocks there.
Yeah,
sort of watching the teams going.
It's a very exclusive elite sport, but I think with where Formula One is headed, I'm hoping that it will bring more action on track. I think sometimes it can be quite monotonous in some ways, but I think with where we are now in the season, guys, it is absolutely nail-biting. Norris is only 1 point ahead of Verstappen. We've got 4 races left to go. Verstappen is only 36 points behind Norris. And I think when you look at how many points are left at stake for these guys, it can literally be any of the 3 of them. And also, guys, George Russell is still in contention to be a Formula One champion this season. Like, you don't understand that George Russell, the one who has literally gotten random podiums here and there, we saw him in Singapore getting a phenomenal win. He's someone that I don't think was on anyone's radar. And now he's still in contention. I mean, it requires a lot of DNFs, but
so then
it's
let's stick your neck out before we move on to some rugby, which is the real sport that we want to talk about, Adrian.
Obviously.
But she's going along so comfortably. I think just leave it to Delucia. You know what I mean? But okay, so the championship. I'm going to ask you to stick your neck out on TV right now.
yeah.
Top 3 in the championship. Come the final race, which is...
So we've still got Brazil coming up. We've got Qatar, we've got Vegas, and then we've also got, of course, Abu Dhabi ending the season. We've got two,
Especially after Lando's dominant performance, 30.3-second victory.
the largest margin for the Formula One season so far to win. And I think that is pretty testament to his perseverance throughout the year, because I was quite worried about Lando. I have a rule in my house where at the beginning of each season, everyone in the family chooses their race winner.
Who did you choose?
I chose Lando Norris, and I've stuck with Lando from the beginning. I enjoy him as a driver. I enjoy seeing him when he is turned on. Someone like Verstappen is one of those anomalies in Formula One. He's a unicorn. He's magical to watch.
Excuse me?
And he is a phenomenal driver. And Morgs, I know you're a massive Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm not saying Lewis Hamilton is bad. I'm just saying with where Verstappen is now and how he performs,
A unicorn in Formula One, Verstappen.
100%.
What makes him so much different to Lando, Piastri, or...
His racecraft, his ability to think like a champion, there is always a gap. And I know people were absolutely shunning Verstappen this past weekend.
Yeah,
at
there's always
the
a gap.
Mexico City Grand Prix. But if you look at, so Hamilton got a penalty. Let's talk about the penalty for a second. Hamilton gets a penalty for going off track and gaining an advantage, 10 seconds.
Correct.
It was a lot. But at the same time, Verstappen, we saw, it was a 4 wide going into turn 1. It was Norris, it was Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen. Verstappen goes off. He does it again the next lap. Did he gain an advantage? I asked both of you. The answer is
No.
thank you. Very simple. And I'm glad you just said no, because that is the premise of what happened. The reason why Verstappen didn't get a penalty is because he let George Russell pass through. He ended up exactly where he was supposed to, regardless of him going off track.
Yeah.
These guys are intelligent human beings. They are intelligent race drivers. And I think that when you look at the rules, they know them back to front. Verstappen knew what he was doing and he said, I didn't do anything wrong. I followed the rules. I didn't do anything. Lewis didn't give the position back. It's that simple. And it's not a biased
But
opinion
why
or
did Lewis
anything
not
like
give the
that.
position back? Because he thought he didn't gain an advantage.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, you haven't still given us your top 3 for the...
I'm going with Lando for the win. And I'm going with the way Max is driving, I'm still going to go Max for second.
Wow.
And then I'm going to go
He's
Oscar.
changed the tune, let me tell you, from what we heard on Saturday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. Every Saturday morning, by the way, play-by-play with myself, Morgan Newman. Adrian will be standing in this week, though. Okay, Lando, Verstappen, Piastri.
I said Verstappen can win.
Yes.
It's not an impossible feat, guys. 36 points is nothing. We still have 2 sprint races to go as well, and then 4 Grand Prix. There's a lot of points at stake here. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge the fact that if Lando continues with the way he is and the current trajectory that he is, he can win. But I'm also well aware of the fact that we've got Brazil coming up. Do you guys remember last year, Verstappen won from 17th on the grid to 1st in treacherous conditions. The man is an absolute unicorn, and I stand by what I said.
If Verstappen wins, is it a case of Verstappen was really good, or is this down to McLaren and them messing up? Because this surely is.
That's a very good question.
Like either Lando or Piastri have to win this. Considering how they started, considering where they are right now, surely they were the ones. One of them was supposed to win it.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. McLaren's biggest threat is the other side of the garage.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that Andrea Stella, the team principal, has operated, and how Zach Brown as well, their CEO, has gone about their Formula One season.
He said they let them race, didn't he?
Let them race. And the problem with that is when you have 2 number 1 drivers, it can be a little bit complicated when one is doing well and one isn't. I also have to add the fact that Lando Norris also had some upgrades and some advantages to his car this weekend in comparison to Piastri.
Why?
Because they were very far off the pace from one another, which is not...
But is that allowed?
Well, you do what you got to do, man. Like, this is still, as much as it was a team...
Are the cars not in the same garage? Are they completely different?
They're different setups. So if you and Adrian are teammates, you choose your setups for that weekend. We can suggest something and say, okay,
But it's not like sneaky then. It's actually just good.
Can I give you a good example?
from Lando.
Can I give you a good example? Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, 2016. They were fighting for their title. The minute that they won the Constructors' title, Toto Wolff had described it as them going completely separate entities. We've won as a unit, as Mercedes. We've got one Constructors.
Yeah.
They had then separated completely. And now it was a case of, can I beat my teammate? Because now I'm treating you like my opponent.
Yes.
Because your biggest opponent in Formula One is your teammate, right? So at this point, McLaren haven't done that. they are still treating it as equals. We saw it in the race where they'd asked Lando, what is the best tire that you would suggest for Oscar? And Lando was a bit hesitant to answer. And at the Mexico Grand Prix that we saw this weekend, the soft tire was the best option. And he was honest and said it was the soft tire. And even though McLaren could see that was the case, it was interesting enough to see that they would still ask their own drivers for advice for their most competitive teammate, who you are fighting for a championship title with, both of whom is your first. So I think it's a lot of intra-team dynamics that we're looking at right now, especially with the way McLaren's operating. Red Bull is a completely different beast because Max is never going to rely on someone like Yuki Tsunoda to help him. Max is Max. Yeah. And one thing I love about Lauren Lecky's coming in as their team principal is the fact that he has allowed a lot of driver feedback to overrule what the strategists have said, the engineers have said. They've relied on Max, who is, again, a very intelligent driver, to say, actually, we're going to Mexico. We have to have an incredibly high downforce because of altitude. But let me choose the setup of my car. Let me set it up the way that I know is going to work so I can find the sweet spot. And it worked for him. He might not have won the race, but getting that P3 was something that he didn't even expect. It was a great surprise for him. Charles Leclerc as well. Ferrari have now turned their eye to relying on Hamilton and Leclerc to kind of find what works for them in their car. And I think that's really important when you look at how Formula One has evolved, because at the end of the day, yes, it's a team sport, but you have to trust your drivers. We all have different driving styles. We can all drive the same car, but we'd all want it to be...
Never, not me. I sit like I'm...
Exactly, and I sit like this. And I'm sure Adrian sits in a... Exactly. He's a 10 and a 3, like he's one of those. But I think that we all drive differently. It's the same way as these drivers do. We all like certain things. Max Verstappen loves a really sensitive car. So it's about setting it up to what works best for you. And I think that when we go into the rest of the season, we're going to see a lot of chopping and changing here. Mercedes is quick. I cannot deny that they are very fast. But at the same time, is Ferrari quicker? Is Max Verstappen quicker? There's a lot that needs to be answered for the rest of the season.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now you want to know why we just talk Formula One to the boss that is Delucia Daniels. Literally giving us every minute of the season so far, unpacked to a T. There is no one better to broadcast Formula One than Delucia Daniels. Let me tell you. We've unfortunately got to shift focus just a little bit. I've got to bring Adrian in. I feel like, we're kind of letting our Formula One counterparts dominate here. So we're going to talk a little bit of rugby and bring it back to what we know best, Adrian. Yes. But international window is back.
Yeah.
The Springboks are back in action. I mean, I see they're quite disjointed. A couple of box played on the weekend for the Sharks and for the Stormers and so forth. Now they're all coming together, obviously on Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is in London. Yeah. To meet up. There's a whole lot of other internationals. I see England are taking on Australia. That's going to be mouth-watering. I mean, Australia, off the back of not a very good convincing victory against the Japanese, they are going up against the English, so that'll be interesting to see. South Africa, Japan, we mentioned that. We'll unpack that for now very quickly. And then Scotland, United States, very interesting. United States are back in the mix. I'd love to see how they perform after they being sort of out for a while. Ireland, New Zealand, 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Doesn't get much better than that. So let's unpack those two very quickly. Yeah. South Africa, where do you think we're headed? Are we going with our strongest team before we take on the winners of the Six Nations? Yeah. Or what do you reckon?
Well, I've sort of been theorizing for a while that I think Rassie would mix it up a little bit. Obviously, at the time of recording this, we don't know yet who the team is, so I might have some egg on my face by the time this comes out.
Just by the way, the teams we give you is our predictions, and then next week we'll unpack how much egg on our face there really is, because we could be very close or very far away.
Because for me, it would make sense, especially given that a lot of the sort of senior Springboks did feature this past weekend. Mm-hmm. I feel like he would do that because he knows he's not going to play them for this Japan game. This Japan game doesn't really have any ramifications. I mean, because of where they're standing in the world rankings, if we lose to them for some odd reason, it's not going to affect our position as an.
But what does it do for momentum, based on the fact that we're playing France the following week? Yeah, and it's another. I stick my neck out and I say this, but it is another World Cup final because it's the best of the Six Nations versus the best of the Southern Hemisphere, of course, the Rugby Championship. And many people believe that the best of those two, is the number one in the world.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, look, you can get it two ways. Either they can go for a strategy where they're like, look, we have this Japanese game, which was tacked on quite late to the World Tour. I mean, it wasn't in. Yeah,
playing 5 games in 5 weeks is quite rough.
Yeah, it is a lot. So they might either do a thing where they play a weaker team against Japan, who, I mean, like you said, had a very close game against Australia, only 15-19, they lost that one. But actually rest their players and sort of use that momentum that we got in the championship against France, because that's obviously, we want to win that. Everyone wants to win that.
Yeah.
I don't see Rassi chopping and changing, experimenting for those type of matches, but I could see him doing it for Japan. And I personally would. I would put up.
Really, would you?
Team, yeah, I would play a team that hasn't featured as much for the Springboks this season, because ultimately we have 2 or 3 teams, well, like starting 15s that we can play.
Yeah, that's very true.
And even our second string is as can compete with some of the best out there in the world. So that could be where he might mix it. Obviously, you might have like some players stronger, some weaker in the position. And then when it comes to France, he's putting his full team on.
Yeah.
We want to see. But we're going to be absolutely fed. We have, like you said, 5 straight Saturdays of Springbok action. I'm looking forward to it.
So basically 5 weekends of just getting blisteringly drunk on a weekend.
Yeah, like, I mean, 5 weekends of Springbok rugby. Does it get any better than that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you under some pressure here. Who's going to start at 10 for the Springboks this weekend?
Good question.
Well, Sasha rested against. He didn't play for the Stormers, and there wasn't any injuries. They just rested him. So I think he might be the starting fly off then. I could see that.
You're going to go with him. And at 15?
Sasha.
Now that David Willems seems to have pulled up.
Well, Fussy, surely?
No, Fussy's injured still.
Is he also
He's still injured, yeah.
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know then. Who could they play?
It's not going to be
Because
Billy, guys.
that's the reason I ask you, is because
They're
I
not
could
gonna play
easily...
Billy,
It's not
surely.
Billy.
Well, I mean, you know,
Surely.
there's an argument to be had about potentially then playing Mani at 10 and playing Sasha at 15.
Okay.
I heard that
I can see
argument
that.
as well. And I'm not mad at that dynamic, to be honest with you. I think that we know that Mani is such a great game player in this game. He's so dynamic. But at the same time, I feel like Sasha is so good in fly half.
It's just a very... You know, I love that combination. I really like that combination. The only worry I have is it's a very expansive backline.
Yes.
And do you want to go that expansive against the French, who thrive on the expansive game? The French flair is still second to none. I mean, everyone knows about this. So...
Yeah.
I don't know. Very, very interesting. I mean, what the makeup of the team, I think, is going to be very similar to the team that played the last rugby championship match. I've got a feeling. But again...
But if you look at the way that they played last time against Argentina, I mean, that was one of the most amazing games of rugby that we have seen.
Exactly.
And I think that against France, you need an attack like that to come into play because France is going to dominate.
Correct. And we're so spoiled for choice. I mean, you've
Yeah.
said it already. We literally could pick 3 different Springbok teams.
Yeah.
Rassi speaks a lot about combinations. Does he now go back to the theory of try different combinations on this interview tour? Still in the foresight of the World Cup that's coming up. Where does he go? It's so interesting. It really is like a good luxury to have, that having so many different options. Before we used to go on a Springbok end of year tour and you knew that Pollard was going to be at 10.
Yeah.
You knew that the centers were going to be Damien and Jesse.
Yes.
Now it could be Damien and Caden Moody for all you know.
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? On the wings, Edward van der Merwe comes back. Does he take Cheslin Colby, put Cheslin at 15, Edward van der Merwe on the one wing? Does he bring the Bulls winger that's now also come back and finding some form? Putting him on the wing with Ethan Hooker on the other side gives you a bit of balance.
I mean, even our locks, like, does even
This
start
is true.
anymore? Like, you know, there's like lots of questions have been raised.
Yeah.
I think good ones. I mean, again, this is a good problem to have.
And this is what I love about the fact that where rugby is headed and where we are growing is because we've got so many options. And I think that there is no bad player.
Correct.
It's just who suits this particular type of game.
Yes, horses for courses is a great option.
And this is the thing. You have the bench coming off, and we know how impactful our bench has been for the last couple of years. So I think anyone who's playing in these kind of games is going to bring some sort of different flair to it. And I think with Japan, I agree with Adrian where he said that this is almost like a I want to say a laissez-faire kind of game. Like we're
Be
taking,
careful.
we know what happened in the World Cup way back when, guys. We know what happened back then. But at the same time,
Dark day. 2015.
nobody...
Are you still scored?
34-2. 34-32. That was hectic, actually.
Yeah.
But I think with where we are now, I think that we've got so many options. And I think that with Rassi and his decisions and how they're going to make decisions for the Japan game, I think it's going to be a more relaxed game. I say that with the goodness in my heart. But I think the big ones were going to come when we
I really feel like this
take on the
game's like
Italian
an
teams.
exhibition game almost.
100%.
I'm not trying to disrespect the Japanese at all, but again, given how it was like tacked on towards
Exhibition.
the
If
end,
the Japanese are listening, you know that you're in big trouble. An exhibition game.
Japanese.
We've played them
please.
3 times in the last 10 years, and we've won 2 and lost 1.
I was going to say, we only lost 1, and that was the most crucial game that
I
we
think
got to lose.
those stats, I don't. They're not conviction, but
Are they still? Is Eddie Jones still managing them?
No, he's not.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Eddie
Well,
Jones was at Australia last that
Eddie Jones
I
is-
remember.
Yeah, but they're also talking about it. I see him coming out with the little comments, and
It's
at
Eddie
some
Jones.
point, you know
What
what I
do
really
you
want to
think?
do on the show? At some point, I want to start speaking about the gossip that we see like around the world. You know what I mean?
We
Like,
have to bring
we've gotta
Katua
bring-
in for that because Katua is so well connected with all those things.
Yeah,
she
she
knows
knows.
these
She-
things.
And also, I'm going to bring in, so buckle up. I'm not here next week, but the week thereafter, when I come back, we're going to bring in sporting predictions. Where
Ooh.
you're going to be on the edge of your seat. You're going to predict Formula One that's happening. You're going to predict all the rugby championship fixtures. You're going to predict Premier League. We never even touched on it. We're running out of time, folks. So unfortunately, we can't touch on my beloved Manchester United. But they are sitting above Liverpool in the log in 4th spot.
Yeah.
Guys,
Glory,
I think
glory,
you
Man
should-
United.
I was
Can we
gonna
just
say,
do a standing ovation
The
for...
two of you have literally been so heartbroken since this Premier
have.
League season has started, and I haven't seen you guys be so gleeful in a long time. So take your moment for your Man
I
United.
know, but we'll let us win 5 in a row. Or let us win this weekend,
Yes.
and then we'll celebrate Man United at length and talk about nothing else. Delucia can find a different place to talk about Formula One. We're going to talk just Premier League action. So thank you so much for joining us again, folks. Of course, tell us how you feel about the show. Leave some messages in the comments. Let us know your thoughts, and if we can be better. If you want to talk about only one sport for the whole show, you want us to cover all the different sporting codes, you let us know, and we'll try and bring it to you in the best way possible. Once again, thank you so much, Delucia Daniels, and happy birthday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And
It's been a
Adrian, my
pleasure.
brother, as always, holding down the show. Next week, you're going to be in this seat.
I was gonna say we're not gonna see you for what, 2 weeks?
You're not going to see me for 2 weeks, so Adrian will be sitting in this seat. Don't even think of commenting that he's better than I am, because there's no way that's happening. And then also, make sure you catch Adrian next week, or this next week, Saturday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. on Play by Play with Adrian Endley. He's going to host the show, and he promises it's going to be absolutely fire.
I'm
So
gonna try my best.
he's going to try his absolute
shoes.
best to make
Big
sure it's
shoes.
fire.
Well,
That's a
Morgan-
wrap, folks. Yes, you wanted to say.
While Morgan goes and finds a wife for the next 2 weeks.
While Morgan goes and finds a wife in the USA.
Yeah.
That's a wrap, folks.
Boy.
Thank you so much once again. We catch you again next week. Same time, same place. Goodbye, everybody.